Just said I wanted evidence.
How's it going, everyone?
That's okay. So
welcome.
This is my
Let's
point.
see who's
I
here.
think that overall demonstrates.
Wow, Sean. Hey, Sean.
That this story
How are you?
is because
Jamie.
of a lot of
Hi,
people
Jamie.
they might
Patrice.
see that.
Excuse me.
Okay.
Oh boy, I've been sneezing. Pardon. Patrice, hi. Molly. Hey, Molly. Jamie. DK me. Molly, you say it's good. Choppy, Sean. Hey, Aurora. Christine. Wait, you know what? I have a Twitter Spaces open. Let me, I'll leave it for now. I'll keep you posted on the Twitters, okay? That was a Twitter Spaces. It may have made everything sound, it's better now, Sean? Okay, good. That was the problem. I had Twitter Spaces open and it was loud. Okay. All right. So welcome to another porch chat. Okay. Much better, Christine says. Better. Hi, Christine Vaccaro. Good evening. Good evening. Yes, it is evening here on the East Coast. So we're looking at December 3rd and around 5-ish. Yeah. I want to talk about Twitter, the Twitter files. Okay. Hashtag the Twitter files. And if you were following the story yesterday evening around this time, you will know that some things were revealed. Not many shocking things for many people, but it was just interesting, right? Molly, thank you so much for the super sticker. I appreciate it. Thank you very much, Molly. Hey, Shauna. Shauna's here. Welcome, Shauna. I hadn't seen you in a minute. Always nice to see you. Yes, so who was following Twitter around this time yesterday? Let me know in the chatmosphere. Were you following the happenings over on Twitter? Let me know. Love you too, Shauna. Love you too. I appreciate that. All the love. Thank you. Thank you. So yeah, what are you all thinking about the Twitter files that dropped yesterday evening? What are your thoughts? Had you been following it? I happen to be just a little bit, Christine says. Okay, yeah. Well, I happen to be on Twitter. And sometimes you wonder, wow, the timing was really interesting that I happened to look, because I'm not always on Twitter, but I told you lately I reconnected with the whole Twitter thing and just understanding how Twitter differs from other social media platforms. I have to say, I wasn't into Twitter until 2020. Now, I had an old Twitter, which a lot of you were deplatformed off of Twitter, and it happened during the group of us, right, with President Trump. That's when I lost my Twitter account, my original Twitter account. So I hadn't bothered with it after that happened. I think I opened up one just to kind of check something, but I opened another Twitter account very recently that I'm now doing more things on it. So ever since rejoining with the whole Twitter thing, I forgot just how very interesting Twitter is to our entire, you could say, truth dissemination, right? In this day of the information age. Right? Hey, Carla. Oh, nice to see you, Carla. Welcome. Oh, I love it. Yes, Dana's here. Hey, Dana. Are we staying on this channel for tonight or moving? I love it, Dana. You know how they say never follow a hippie to the second location. I hate that. Oh, you know who said that? I used to love him on 30 Rock. Tell the truth, everybody. Didn't you like Alec Baldwin on 30 Rock? Did you love his Jack character? Oh my goodness. I turned my daughter on to 30 Rock. We loved to watch 30 Rock. It was funny. I mean, come on. Am I just tripping, or did anybody out there also enjoy it? But that was one of the things that was funny about his character. I believe his character said that very thing, like never follow a hippie to a second location. And that was just always so funny to me, to us. Juan is here. Juan, welcome, Juan. I love to see you come by and hang out with us. Juan is like, he's one of them day ones. We call it a marathon. When I look over here, I see you all. I see Juan is over here, right? We've been on the marathon together. Yes, so it's always nice when you see other marathoners. B Wolf is here. Hey, B Wolf, how's it going? Phyllis, hey Phyllis, what's up? You said I watched about the Twitter releases on Redacted News last night. Okay, so a lot of you all heard about it at least. Last night it hit a lot of if you watch, of course, YouTube, social media news, you're going to hear about it. But I know that the other alt news, what is it called? Oh, it's not WeOn, but it comes on television. I'm not remembering it, but you all know what I'm talking. They covered it on their evening news report, which was good. I just double checked to see what some of the other channels were doing, and they weren't covering it. But it was pretty exciting. I was like, I texted Girl Code, so we were, observing it. And, it was really wild to observe. If you were on there just watching the various drops, if you know what I'm saying. And, we've gotten used to getting information in drops, but it was possibly close to 40 drops. Let me know what the number that if you were following them, let me know. It was about 40 or so, right? And let's see what Sean is saying. Musk revealed government instruction to censor Hunter's laptop story. Yeah, Musk he's an interesting guy. Oh, you know what? Back to Dana's question. No, Dana, we're going to hang out right here, okay? On the porch together, Dana. We're not going to a second location. So thank you for asking. Okay, I got like off on a tangent, Dana. You know how I do, Dana. Come on, don't act like you don't know. Let's see what else, Sean. What's up? Let me refresh the chat. You can't wait, Carla. Are you back on the Twitter? Phyllis, what's up? You loved, yes. Okay, so Phyllis, you liked 30 Rock, and Dana, you thanks for telling the truth, okay? We know what Alec has become, okay? He has succumbed to the the clap back, I'm going to call it. He was one of those TDS people, and he was obsessed, just obsessed. People that were obsessed and just on that TDS, they have not fared very well. Have you noticed? They have not fared very well. There's a certain theory about that, but it just hasn't worked out very well for them. But I have to say, I can balance how I look at people through a filter retrospectively. I can give Alec Baldwin credit where he was funny at one time. He was. So a lot of you agree. You loved 30 Rock. I thought it was just so funny. The ensemble was just hilarious, right? Shauna says, I never even heard of, you hadn't heard of 30 Rock? Oh gosh, it was just funny. Hey, Bronx Patriot, happy Saturday. B Wolf agrees 30 Rock was funny to you as well. Okay, so we share some similar comedy. Yes. Yeah, Seinfeld, I even like that. So yeah, so basically a lot of these people in terms of the other side of this philosophical whatever spiritual difference we have going on right now in the world, such a rift. A lot of rifts are being healed and certain other ones aren't so much. It's rather interesting. Now, today I wanted to talk about some of the Twitter files, mainly the file that deals with Brazil. Now, I don't know if you had followed what was going on in Brazil. I only knew that Brazil was having a similar issue that we had in 2020. Real interesting. In fact, they call Bolsonaro, Jair, if I'm not saying it right, Jair Bolsonaro, they call him Tropical Trump. And he has a conservative, more of an outsider feel. It's very similar. People have described when you read about how Bolsonaro is received. So we have an issue where Bolsonaro was projected to be popular enough to win and retain his elected status, only to not have it happen, to many people's surprise, very similar to what we went through to wake up to this very strange reality of having Joe Biden being called our leader, president, leader of the free world. So it was just this weird portal of strange reality that we'd gone through. So they are going through similar. And I haven't, like I said, kept a lot of detail with what they're going through in Brazil. But I'll tell you this, it was something about, I don't know what it was, something I posted on Instagram, and A guy from Brazil, he slid in my DMs. Yes, I do check my DMs. And he was nice. He greeted me and he was talking about the election over there in Brazil. And it was fascinating. And we just started to communicate. And even though I don't speak Portuguese, you can make out some things. If you like, I spoke Spanish fluently as a child, so I kind of work out some of these languages. But anyway, he had sent me some reels. You know what I'm saying? Even if you don't speak the language, you can make out that something's not right, the people aren't happy, and you don't have to speak the language to pick up on the vibes, if you know what I'm saying, right? Looks like who else has joined? Teresita, welcome. Thank you for joining, Teresita. You said I thought it was Third Moon from the Rock. That's my Mandela. Oh, that was a show, Teresita, Third Rock from the Moon. I used to watch that one. It was a few fun shows, you know, that I enjoyed during my TV time. And that was one of them. I like that one. Funny. Oh my goodness, Sheena's here. Hey Sheena. I like when you come in, you go, Shalomi, homie. I used your Shalomi, homie, by the way. Let's see. Tell it, teacher. Thank you, Sheena. I've missed you. How have you been? It's been a minute. Welcome back. Yes, so what else is new? Oh, just me. Hey, just me. Let's see what you're saying. The character that plays Bolsonaro also plays a character named Bob Stefanowski. Did I say that? Stefanowski, who ran for governor of Connecticut. Wow, interesting. You know, I'm glad you shared that because we are learning, a lot of us. I attend the Kev Gill Rowe University over there. Kev Rowe, he talks a lot about people and multiple characters that they play. And it is not far-fetched, as we have heard, that all of the world is a stage and people make their appearances, they leave the stage, they come back as other people. And with the technology that is available, it is not far-fetched. As we are talking about Brazil, okay, let's keep the tinfoil Twitter going, okay? Tingles. And let me make sure I'm keeping up with the Twitters if the files are starting, because we're doing part 2 of the Twitter files. Let me see. Okay, let me refresh. What's going? Oh, wait a minute. Elon Musk has joined the. Hold it. Has he joined? Oh, wait a minute. Elon Musk has joined a Twitter Spaces. Hold on. I know this is a lot going on. Wait, let me start listening so you all can listen. It's about 2,398 people listening. Let's see what's going on.
Looking at it, is that's clearly what happened.
It's Elon speaking.
Yeah, I mean, shame on them.
Yeah, I agree with that. And then the other important thing here is that you are exposing collusion between a political party and in one file that was released, it was even called the Biden team contacting Twitter. I mean, that is election interference, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, clearly, if Twitter is doing one team's bidding before an election, shutting down dissenting voices on a pivotal election, that is the very definition of election interference. And what the hell else would you? Of course, it's like, yes, frankly, Twitter was acting like an arm of the Democratic National Committee. It was absurd.
Well, and that's fantastic that you're releasing that. But isn't Twitter just the tip of the iceberg? Can't we admit now that this would have happened at all big tech companies that are, being used to stifle free speech and censor people and try to, destroy stories that are dangerous to their political goals?
Yeah. No, I mean the level of collusion is insane. Like Twitter is the one company that is no longer colluding, and is no longer just going with the sort of NPC groupthink. So I don't know. I should probably increase my security or something.
Absolutely. I mean, this is why I hate you so much.
What I find most interesting.
Just a second. That would have been my next question, Elon. How worried are you personally? I mean, you're putting a lot on the line, right? You have all these businesses going. You are out there fighting the good fight for free speech, but there's also certainly a concern on your mind about what the response to this is going to be. Do you feel threatened? Do you feel worried? Like, how do you feel personally about this?
Yeah, and I'll add on to a question I asked as well, Elon, like what type of pressure have you faced so far?
Maybe I should be more worried than I am, but I don't know. I think generally if you do right by the people, then you have the people on your side.
Elon, if you want, you can come to Sweden.
Oh, you jumped out, Thierry. Can you hear me first, Elon, before I give the mic back to Kim?
I lost the signal there.
Yeah, oh good, yeah, he dropped out. Can you hear me or not? Just so I know, if you can't hear me, I'll give the mic back to Kim. No, you can't hear me. Kim, you take the mic.
I was going to ask
go ahead,
him
Tara.
what he thought, really quick, of Senator Warren's response that one person, him, should not have control over the narrative.
Elon, I was saying, you can come to Switzerland by...
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, it's not one person has control of the narrative, because there's the entire mainstream media establishment who all talk like groupthink NPCs. There's Facebook, there's Google, there's TikTok. No, the actual problem is there's one person who isn't towing the line. That's the real problem.
Thank you. That's the exact response that we needed.
To you, yeah. I mean, that's
so Ian, can you ask him a quick question as well?
The problem is, as soon as one person doesn't toe the line, now everyone else is looking like,
Well, now we're allowed to, Elon, and that's the issue. Is before we were at risk of being suspended or deplatformed.
They're allowing. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
That
so
it's possible.
I mean, this is like competition does keep companies honest, or should. It is a force for keeping companies honest. So if there's a competition for the truth, and Twitter wins the competition for the truth, then it will win over the readership and the attention of the public, and everyone else will be forced to tell the truth too.
Do you think that you run the risk of like the EU Commission or any of these other big political bodies trying to take you down when you're doing this?
Yes. I do not think this is a risk-free endeavor. But I also think that, like, as long as there's the support of the people, then you have to say, like, any organization, at least in the U.S., that it is going to go against the will of the people, I think will be in big trouble themselves.
Elon, you're doing this at such an important time in history because I think people can sense that the censorship is becoming more, that the media is spilling more and more propaganda, that we are heading into a future where free speech isn't really acceptable anymore. And for you, with your audience, to go out there and put this transparency out there, I think a lot of people appreciate that this is a fight that you are taking center stage, in order to fix some of these issues.
Yeah. No, I mean, frankly, the risk of something bad happening to me, or even literally being shot, is quite significant. I'm definitely not going to be, doing any open air car parades. Let me put it that way. But it's also it's not that hard to kill if somebody wanted to. So hopefully they don't. And if fate smiles upon the situation with me and does not that does not happen. I'm taking reasonable proportions, I guess. But there's definitely some risks here. But I mean, at the end of the day, I think we'll just want to have a future where we're not oppressed, or our speech is not suppressed, and we can say what we want to say without fear of reprisals. As long as you're not really causing harm to somebody else, then you should be able to say what you want. And that's quite a rare thing, I think as people just take that for granted sometimes, but really throughout history, free speech has been highly unusual, not common. And so we have to fight very hard to keep that because it's such a rare thing, and it's by no means something that is default. A controlled speech is the default, not free speech. It does seem incredibly ironic that so many reporters in the media and prominent politicians are calling for restraints on free speech. This is just crazy. It feels like we're in bizarro world here.
Do you think that comes from the way that journalism is taught now in today's schools, in that what we would call postmodern journalism, or where do you think that's really coming from?
I mean, I haven't been to journalism school, but it does seem as though that the elite educational institutions have been somehow infected with an anti-free speech mind virus, which is sort of a subset of the woke mind virus. So how much actual intellectual freedom and how much actual intellectual freedom is there at elite educational institutions, where you don't get completely shunned unless you abide by what everyone else thinks, and then what everyone else thinks is you're told what to think, not asked to. You're sort of, you must think this. It's not like you have freedom to think and talk as you wish.
What's the solution for this? I mean, obviously this is
somehow we should, I think, approach the woke mind virus and have truth be what matters more than anything. I mean, I think it's funny that Harvard's motto in the Harvard Standard is veritas, truth. And the founders of Harvard were right to have that on their shield, the shield of truth. But is Harvard the shield of truth today? Maybe not.
Well, I love that we're all on this space because of our belief in freedom to transact, and obviously Jack was a big Bitcoin Lightning guy. What can you comment on freedom to transact, Bitcoin, Lightning, Twitter, anything we can look forward to?
Well, I think that's actually more powerful even than I think controlling than censorship, which is control of the monetary system. If you have control of the monetary system and control of transactions, you can literally stop someone from. You can starve people to death. You can throw them out of their homes. So we have to be very careful about who's controlling the money system here, and what rules and regulations are they going to put on transactions. It seems like PayPal has strayed pretty far from the path of that. I've been banning PayPal. It seems to be moving in the direction of social credit and restricting transactions. So that's concerning. So I do think there is a role for crypto in the future without speaking to any particular crypto coin, as a means of ensuring that the monetary system does not get completely corrupted. It essentially provides competition to the fiat system, so that if the fiat system becomes overly restrictive, then crypto will grow. Like basically, the better that the fiat system works, the less prominent crypto will be, and the worse the fiat system becomes, the more crypto will grow.
Are you concerned about the moves towards central bank digital currencies?
I don't think they know what they're talking about. No, not really.
A lot of people theorize that FTX and the fallout there was a ploy to push us toward that centralization and the digital dollar.
Falling flat in its face now.
Correct.
I think they're conflating a few things. First of all almost all money is digital already. The fiat monetary system, for practical purposes, consists of a series of heterogeneous mainframes running antiquated COBOL. That's the actual money system, by the way. It's kind of embarrassing. It's not like some rickety mainframes running ancient COBOL and doing everything in batch mode. That's the actual the fiat monetary system.
Elon, can you hear me first? Is it working now or no?
It is digital, but not in a very good way. And whether banks create their own cryptocurrencies, I think is somewhat irrelevant. People will use the cryptocurrencies that they think will accrue value over time, and not use the ones that don't.
Doge for the moon.
Hey, Elon, could you shed some spill the beans on the whole SBF, Binance, and Twitter fundraising?
It's not not many beans to spill here. I had one conversation with SBF in May where it was like half an hour. He was just talking like a mile a minute. I think he was clearly on some stimulants. And he kept talking about himself at FTX, which is weird because the call was supposed to be about Twitter. And I was like, shouldn't you want to ask me some questions about Twitter instead of talking about yourself? The vibe I got there was like, this is my bullshit meter, like, was redlining. So I'm like, but everyone kept saying, Morgan Stanley and lots of other people kept saying, oh, SBF is the best, and he's got tons of money. And so that's why I agreed to speak to him. But then like I said, he set up my bullshit meter, and which frankly, I don't think this was like deep insight wasn't necessary. If someone's calling you to talk about investing in a big transaction, they should be asking questions about the transaction, not talking about themselves and talking at the speed of an auctioneer. So that's it didn't require deep insight to figure out that the bullshit factor is high.
So you didn't end up with any client funds accidentally?
Yeah.
So unfortunately, Mario is having connection issues, so you're unable to hear him. And Mario, I was going to say my DMs are open if you want to relay comments or questions for Elon there, and I can try to help field those. And also, Alex is one of the accounts that was wrongfully suspended by Twitter, and you fortunately brought back. I wanted to give him the opportunity to ask you a question because he's had his hand up, if that's okay.
Okay, sure.
Hey, so I've Hunter Blackhouse would also cover lots of requests from the Biden campaign and the DNC to censor individuals.
Yeah, we can't hear you, Alex. We can't hear you.
I can barely hear Alex.
Tell Elon to mute his mic and unmute.
Probably, but I cannot hear him.
Yeah, tell Elon to mute and unmute just so we can hear Alex, because I think Elon's background noise is muting Alex.
Hey, Elon.
Someone tell Elon. Elon can't hear me, so you have to tell him Kimotara.
Yeah, I'm telling him that he can't hear you. That's okay. Can you just give me 1 second here, real quick? Elon, you said something, really important, and that is that truth matters. And this is really what this is all about. Because without free speech, we don't have truth. And I would like to ask you, what is your opinion about Julian Assange and Edward Snowden? Shouldn't those guys be center stage when it comes to free speech and truth? Shouldn't the U.S. government leave Julian Assange alone and let him be a journalist?
I don't know enough about the Assange situation to give an accurate answer. There are things where, that where national security stuff is involved, that I think do need to be kept secret because, where there's like nuclear secrets, and there are things where bad actors, if they had access to that information, could do bad things. So
yeah, but when a journalist exposes war crimes, right? When a government just goes and invades a country and kills people, against international law, when exposures like this are being made, isn't that important so people see the reality of wars and understand how some of that stuff is really bad?
Yeah, I generally think that people should, like I said, that people should be able to know what's going on in order to make sensible decisions. I just don't know enough about the Assange situation to say whether he should be punished or not punished. But I do think that I'm generally in favor of freedom of information. And if there's any doubt, we should lean on the side of freedom of information.
And how about Edward Snowden, who has revealed these mass surveillance programs where the government is spying on everyone and storing all their data in these massive spy clouds, also against the law, where the Five Eyes are working together to undermine their local laws and their local restrictions on spying, and they just spy on each other and then share the data so that they know everything about everyone. How do you feel about that?
Well, probably the best thing would be a jury of the public. So if Snowden were to be, I don't know, look, I have power in this situation, but if they ultimately the people of the United States should be the ones who judge Snowden, not select people in the government. So if a jury of peers of citizens were to review Snowden and make a judgment as to whether he's guilty or not, I think that would probably be the appropriate course of action.
Yeah, the only problem is that if he were to be in a U.S. court, he wouldn't get a fair trial because under Espionage Act laws, you cannot even make a public interest defense. He wouldn't even be able to say, I've done that because it's the right thing for Americans to know about that. So that would be a defense that is not available to him. So to say, a jury of your peers should decide about that, it's a problem.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's no easy answer to the Snowden-Assange situation.
Can I make a suggestion, Elon? Why don't you do a poll to your millions of users and ask them if they think Julian Assange and Edward Snowden should be given their piece for the service that they have provided to humanity?
Okay, that's a good idea. Sure. I like that idea.
I'm going to ask a question on Mario's behalf really quick, since he's unable to speak to Elon, which has to be extremely frustrating as the host. He was just curious if you faced any pressure so far since releasing the Twitter files.
I mean, I face pressure all the time, so it's kind of like, what's the differential in pressure before and after? Because I haven't seen it yet. I don't know. Maybe there's pressure, but I might just not be feeling it because just every day is a high pressure situation. but I don't know. Well, like I said, we're just gonna put all the information out there, try to get a clean slate, and then work iteratively in the future to provide the most truthful, accurate, and timely information to the people. That will be the goal of Twitter, and we won't be perfect in that regard, but I think we will be iteratively better. And if that turns out, if we're successful in doing so, then I think Twitter will compete more effectively than any other source of information, and then more people will use Twitter, and then that competitive pressure will force other social media companies and other media companies to also be more truthful, because otherwise they will simply lose their readership, and that I think is an extremely powerful and good vision of the future.
Could you say a little bit perhaps about what Twitter is expected to maintain as an API to, say, the Department of Homeland Security in general, the FBI, maybe CISA in particular? Is there an expected way in which the government can jack in to social media that's expected on behalf of each of the big media platforms? And is that sort of different? I don't know how to say this exactly, but the issue of left versus right is complicated by the fact that Trump is a non-player to the game, just the way Bernie might have been considered a non-player to the game. And the secondary question is how much of this isn't about left versus right, but about targeting anyone who isn't a party to all of the tacit agreements inside DC?
Can you still hear us, Elon?
Elon, you still there?
I hope so.
No, he's disconnected. It says disconnected for me at least.
It says
I'll
Elon
invite him again.
is in listener mode right now.
Oh, he's back. He's back.
Hey,
Elon,
Mario,
are you back?
such a pity that he couldn't hear you, man. That is just
It's fine, man. It's fine. Like, you know me. I'm happy listening. I'm happy listening. Can you guys hear me at least?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, loud and clear.
Dara, thanks for asking the question. I was really curious about it. But it says for me he's still a speaker. Can anyone see him as a speaker?
I can see him as a speaker. He's not speaking.
Last time he was here, Kim, you were there. So I think Kim, you commented and he joined. When we co-hosted him, remember Kim? We co-hosted him and it froze. So I'm like, fuck, I shouldn't have co-hosted him.
I think he's dropped off now.
Yeah, I'll send him an invite. A few people got kicked off stage.
Almost 6,000 people in this Twitter Spaces. Yes, DeWolf, this is live. Welcome. Hey, Karen. We're waiting to get Elon back on, okay? Let me see. Paint, Dance, Live. Hey, watching on Roku.
Makes that the truth
Hey, Rawhide.
is out there, that it has value again, and that Twitter needs to make a stand for free speech, which he is doing now, and he is aware of the risks to him personally and his businesses. So it's a very courageous thing for him to do, and I think anyone who had any doubt about what his intentions are when he bought Twitter, I think it's pretty clear that what he's doing in interest of the people and not necessarily in his own best interest. So I find that amazing, and I applaud him for that.
Yeah, and while waiting for you to join again,
Hey, Shawnee.
I've DM'd him another invite. What do you guys think of his? I'm not sure if he's saying it as a joke, but his security fear on his security and
I don't think he has anything really to worry about. I mean, I don't think anyone's really going to come
Hey, Wendy,
right now,
who's hosting?
It's too obvious why they'll be going after him.
It
so I think he's quite
says
safe, and he does have security. So personally, I'm not concerned. Although at
the
same
host
time,
is not able to
he
listen for
does
some
have security
reason.
for a reason.
So there's someone who I think Tara has stepped in to host.
There's nothing that he's revealing now that is,
Ian Miles is speaking now.
Specific
person, right? It's like he's more or less just giving people the platform for free speech, and the people who are most affected by this are journalists who, what do they have to lose? Well, their reputations for one, but they've already thrown it away. So I don't think it's, I don't think he really has to worry about his personal safety. I don't think it's going to be that dire.
Hey, Elon, just to let you know, Elon is listening now. I've sent you through an invite. You should see it via DM. So I've sent you through the invite to come back on stage. So hopefully it works. Might take a bit of time because space is glitching like crazy.
It is.
For everyone else, yeah, go ahead.
Mario, there's some backfeed coming from you. I'm not sure if you have your audio playing in the background, but I can hear you twice. I don't know if anyone else is having that issue.
Oh, a guy named Mario is hosting, Wendy, but he's having trouble. They're having a lot of glitches. So right now they're waiting for Elon, if you're just joining, Elon to tap back in. It's 6,403 people in this Twitter Spaces. And I haven't gone out yet to check if they are dropping any Twitter files. I wanted to talk about that, but this happened, so...
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yeah, I'm glad you can hear me. I'm glad you can hear me again. I think, Kim, you were asking a question?
No, I was just saying how cool it is that you talk to us from your private jet, we really appreciate it. It's like a typical Elon moment, and we're just all in awe about you, taking these risks to your business and to yourself to fight for free speech. So I said to everyone who had doubts about your intentions when you bought Twitter, making your intentions very clear, and I think it's very courageous of you, and I want to thank you for that.
No, you're most welcome. I mean, like I said, the proof will be in the pudding over time. There will be many mistakes made, but iteratively, I think the net vector should be towards truth, if sort of new Twitter is successful in that, then the results will be that people will turn to Twitter to understand what is true, what is real, what narratives matter, and Twitter will gain a lot of readership and attention, and it will put a lot of competitive pressure on mainstream media and on other social media companies to also be more truthful, because otherwise they will simply keep losing people to Twitter. And that's where the competition can be a very, very good thing. So, but it's not going to be perfect, and there's going to be decisions that people disagree with. But on balance, the overall decisions are ones that people do agree with, and they will gravitate towards Twitter, and Twitter will actually be successful and will gain share from other social media, and it will cause those other sources of media to then stop towing the line and to sort of be more truthful.
What's your just a quick question, Elon? What's the biggest risk, in your opinion, from the steps you've taken in terms of releasing the files? Do you see any risks for Twitter?
I mean, I guess there'll probably be some. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if some lawsuits or something. So yeah, I would expect there to be some legal risk. But what's important? That's less of a concern than just clearing the air and making sure that people of Earth and know what really happened. And
the metrics, the Twitter metrics show that it seems like it's the right decision by far, not only ethically but from a business perspective as well. That you keep hitting new records.
Yeah, exactly. So, like I said, it's the point of as it becomes clear that Twitter is the place to actually figure out what's going on and get the unfiltered narrative, the unfiltered truth. Also for the people of Twitter to be able to suggest narratives and steer them, and emphasize narratives themselves. and have things not be controlled like it is with the so-called mainstream media, where the narrative is controlled by a handful of editors in chiefs. If basically the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, and Washington Post, and maybe a few others decide what the narrative is, and so even if what they say is completely truthful, the people don't really get a choice in what topics are covered. So whereas on Twitter they do, and like it could be something really important going on the world, and then the big news organizations aren't covering it for whatever reason. But on Twitter, the people can decide what narratives are important and what should be emphasized and what should, yeah. So that's.
So on that note,
can I mention something really quick? Can I just mention something really quick that I can hear you.
Okay,
is that you?
I'm just going to ask a quick question. I want to
sorry,
know
John.
what Twitter is doing, or what you are doing, what you're planning to allow people to have more ability to publish their own stories on Twitter. Because right now we just have tweets, right?
Yeah.
But what are your plans for, say, video publication or article publication? Things to incentivize, creators and journalists, independent journalists, to be able to have their voices heard for more than just tweets.
Yeah, absolutely. These are all like very obvious moves. One needs to be able to obviously post long form written content on Twitter. One needs to be able to post long videos and long audio on Twitter natively, and there also needs to be a means of monetizing that so that creators can make a living. Those are. I feel like I'm saying that the sky is blue and the grass is green. That's pretty obvious stuff. And in order to implement those things, Twitter needs to have a strong software engineering organization that is focused on shipping great code. And really was quite a mess before, but it will have a strong engineering team and be able to implement those basic features. So that even if there are lots of limitations, let's say on example, then they can post it on Twitter, and then Twitter can be an effective competitor to YouTube. And then, like I said, what happens when there's competition for the truth, and everyone and one company steps out of line, then it actually really does allow the truth to flourish. It's going to put a lot of competitive pressure on other organizations to do the same thing.
Can you talk about whether or not the effort to supposedly pre-bunk malinformation, which is to take real information and then, if it's imaging to a narrative, to put fear, uncertainty, and doubt around it, is there an attempt through the Department of Homeland Security or the FBI or CISA or any of these groups to tell Twitter that it has to maintain a port so that information can come from the government to say, we need this information pre-bunked?
Well, I mean, if there's any sort of request from the U.S. government that is or can be legally forward, and if something can be legally effective, and if something cannot be, will be Congress was such that it can be legally forged. We cannot gag the voice of the people. This is not good. I read a lot of history. I love history, and I love history podcasts.
Hardcore history is the best one.
Colin is awesome.
Fantastic. Start with the Mongols.
Yeah, but it's like you look through history, man, and it's like, there's actually, I mean, within boundaries, there is actually freedom of speech. usually it's like the king or whatever. That's just they were just by default suppressed. And now we have this like rare moment in history where voice not suppressed, but trying to suppress it, and we just need to fight really hard for freedom of speech. This is very to the future of civilization.
I absolutely agree with you. I mean, this is why you're fighting, right? This is why, you're fighting for that we absolutely do not want to control anything.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to chime in there, there are a lot of decades that have caused happening in politics, what's happening in the media. There's so much frustration, and I think the most important thing that you've done here, Elon, with your steps that you are taking, is to give people hope.
Great. I'm really glad that, like, my best year, mistakes along the way, and won't be perfect, but I'll also then do my best to correct those mistakes and to be, the least dumb possible.
It's a very white moment. It's like, a lot of us have been fighting this culture war for caring about it, right? It's like the majority of people just don't know what to do. Yeah, it's true what kids say. Thank you for fighting this fight. I mean, this is very, very just all of us.
Absolutely. I'm sort of, worried about the future of slavery. Good direct, and if you study history, you sort of see like the arc of civilizations, the rise and fall. In India and China, there have been many sort of rise and falls of civilizations within India, China, and we do not find ourselves on the downslope of that arc.
Good times make weak men, right? And we are in the good times. We're stuck in it. Sucks.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like not to sort of get like topic, but there is like sort of, I've had these discussions with like sort of what's the meaning of life? Like, what should we do? Like, why do anything? But then if you're not sort of very what is the end of, actually I sort of believe in Douglas Adams. We should strive through greater understanding with it's basically a religion of curiosity. Let grow into the future, expand in the future, expand consciousness, expand our understanding, and to just figure out what's going on. And
And it's understanding
without giving away too much, really quick, is there any sneak peek of what we can expect with the next Twitter files drop?
Well, I'm somewhat leaving this up to Matt Taibbi and Barry Weiss. The natural thing for me to, like, after the Hunter Biden left stuff, actually, I sounds bizarre, but Hunter Biden seems kind of fun, to be honest.
I know, right? Yeah. Artists, do you know that? I mean, I don't care about himself.
Undivided here, but so on the what happened after the election? How much was there? Like sort of moved to history, which was insane. And like George Orwell is turning in his grave. With that, I think there was a public outcry about disinformation.
Yeah, Jack Posobiec started that one. He basically stopped it in its tracks because before that, nobody knew that this was even a thing, right? And he exposed it, and suddenly everybody was talking about it, and they had to shut it down because it was very Orwellian. It was like they used 1984 as an instruction manual.
Exactly, totally. Exactly. 1984 is supposed to be a warning, not an instruction manual.
Yep. And that's what they seem to be doing. They take every single, dystopian game, and they're like, yeah, this world looks awesome. Let's oppress the hell out of people. It's like, no, let's not do that.
Exactly, totally.
Elon, speaking of you accomplished so much, you started the first successful American car company in 100 years. You brought payments to the internet. There's a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs and small business owners that look at what you do and sort of try to, follow that example and see how they. And I wanted to ask you a little bit about the layoffs because it appeared to me with the $4 million loss per day, and just doing the math on the $1 billion employees, giving them time to process, getting their feedback, and then creating a shared vision to evolve the company to a greater future was really successful. And it appears here that the typical leverage buyout KKR approach was basically applied from a financial standpoint. For a small business owner did you think about taking that approach? Was that ever under consideration?
I apologize. The audio is not perfect, so I'm not fully hearing the question. The company basically tripled headcount in about 2 years, a little over 2 years. But there's just no way that is going to be a healthy situation. So the first order of business with Twitter was like, okay, we've got to make sure Twitter doesn't die, that doesn't go back. The Fed is being extremely unwise. I think these will go down as some of the most foolish Fed decisions ever. But anyway, so the debt's got to be serviced.
But loading out this year, how's this different?
Sorry?
KKR and other private equity companies that, you know, do anything from a hostile takeover, you know, or any sort of takeover where they bid over the current price using leverage, using debt. You know, I've been following that for years, and it always results in massive layoffs. And so, as somebody who's,
by the way, I don't think anybody cares about that. I don't think that matters right now.
That's what I was gonna say. And I was going to say, as long as they keep moving the bar and changing the definition of a recession, we are where we are, right? With the Fed.
Let's get back on topic here. You know, we have Elon. We don't need to talk about, you know, his investments and things like that. Elon, we should send a shout out to the Twitter Spaces team because you're about to break the all-time record with the space. We're almost at 100,000 listeners right now.
Yes, we are, and it's holding.
Talking about spaces, you know, like what's the strategy moving forward?
Awesome. Look, I have to tell you that there are really some amazing people at Twitter, and there's actually some amazing people who actually left Twitter in recent years, and I hope they come back because I think there's a potential to just build some amazing things here. So, you know, I want to be exactly complimentary of some of the great work that is being done on Twitter. So, you know, it's sort of, you know, just sort of like, I mean, there's a lot to criticize about Twitter and say like, okay, Twitter is wasting money in a lot of, in really some mixed up ways, but there's also very talented people who really care about the truth of Twitter. And I'm doing my best to elevate their capabilities and give them all the resources they need. I'm very excited about Community Notes. This feature, you know, Keith Coleman's running it, and there's like some really first-rate engineers that are writing the code on that product that is, I think, going to be very powerful for actually fighting disinformation, not.
Can we actually see that if we're not enrolled in Community Notes, right? Like right now. The rest of the world isn't, right? It's just the United States and I think Canada, to my knowledge. But can you at least make it visible to other people? So even if we're not able to contribute, we can at least view it because I feel getting left out. I'm in Malaysia, so you know it's kind of hard to see it.
Yeah, actually, I asked that. I sent a note to Keith Coleman saying like, hey, shouldn't we just at least make this visible everywhere? And then he said we needed to talk in person about that, but I'm not sure what.
Hey, Elon, we didn't say on the Twitter Spaces during the blowout of SBF and FTX and all the other companies in crypto, there's been massive financial losses for many people, obviously. But Twitter Spaces actually became the place that drove the community together, and we've been sharing lots of stories. There were people that were suicidal because of the financial loss, and because of the community in Twitter Spaces, it prevented them taking their life. There's lots.
Yeah, and to add to it as well, Elon. Last time, if you remember when you joined the space about Sam, that space ended up going for 16 hours, and for 3-4 days, the media was in our space, getting the news from the space for 4 days, 5 days straight, and then writing stories on it day after day. And I think Simon was there, Kim was there, so it was I think it's the first time it happens to that extent on Twitter Spaces, and we're probably doing it again today.
Yeah, and this type of citizen journalism that you are enabling is so powerful, you know, because we are the news now. If people want to learn the truth, they go to Twitter and join the spaces. You know, it's like real time with experts. It's fantastic. And then we have people like you joining in and sharing their opinions and their thoughts. What is more powerful than that? The traditional media can pack and it's game over for them.
Elon, would you ever consider holding a space for earnings for Tesla right here live on Twitter?
Oh man, you know, I have to say, Tesla being a public company, it just creates such a gigantic attack surface for legal firms in the U.S., especially these class action firms. Man.
Yeah, that seems like a bad idea.
I've been to spaces that other CEOs held, and they did their earnings live right on Twitter, and I thought it was quite amazing.
Okay, well, yeah, sure. I'm happy to do it. Yeah.
You've made Elon. You've just made two promises. You've made two promises, man. Now you've made this one, and you've made one to Kim about the You made a promise to Kim about the poll, and now you made a promise to hold the Tesla meeting here on Spaces. So just I'll remind you afterwards about it as well.
I've been getting a lot of. I will do those things. Yeah. So I've been getting a lot of questions from people who are just bombarding me just to ask you, right? Because we're in the space. They're asking, what are you going to do about the shadow banning situation? Because I'm personally search banned. I'm not shadow banned, but I'm search banned, and I'm not sure what's even up with that. Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've only been on the job like a month, guys. So there's definitely I've got a long list of things to do. But there needs to be a general. We need to say, like, your account should actually just tell you are search banned or you are deboosted or whatever it is, and why and what the process is for fixing that. Now this week I should tell you that we were probably a little overzealous, and that's, if anything, that's my fault, because I'm just trying to get rid of the damn scams and spam and bots and stuff, and so in trying to stamp out or reduce the bot spam scam stuff, there will be some false positives. So that's just this week, but it's going to be an iterative journey towards truth and towards a healthier system. So just to be patient, at any given point, it will be broken, but it will be moving as quickly as possible towards a good place. And I encourage people to, complain about it and whatnot, but it will move iteratively towards a good place. That's the goal. And I'm going to move pretty fast, so on the net, the vector sum of those decisions over time should be I'm losing him.
Yeah. By the way, Kim, check my DMs. Kim, check my DMs. Kim, check my DMs, because I'm having glitches, so I might need your help with a few things. Elon, you're back? Elon?
Yep.
You're back. Another question. I think you made a reference once to WeChat. I think that was a while ago, and I don't recall it correctly. Does that reference still stand today? Is that a potential vision for Twitter?
Yeah, I was just using WeChat as an example. It's not like we would copy WeChat exactly, but it's just WeChat has a lot of functionality that Twitter should have. Like, it's kind of a no-brainer for Twitter to have payments, both fiat currency and crypto, and to make that easy and simple for people to use. As talked about earlier, adding the ability to post long-form written content and video content, and to be able to monetize that easily.
Nice to have a playlist, like YouTube does.
Yeah. But my focus in the first month, and also will be the case in December, is just making sure that Twitter is operating efficiently as a company, that it is not wasting money, because it faces challenges on the revenue front, from with an overdependence on advertising that is not targeted, like brand advertising, and in a market where advertising revenue in general is dropping, and then also when you start questioning the status quo, then various pressure groups start pressuring advertisers to not advertise with you. So that's another challenge on the revenue front. And then you got the debt, and the debt has a very high interest rate. So it's like these are a lot of challenges simultaneously that I think we'll solve these challenges, but these are a lot of things to solve. So the first order of business is just get Twitter healthy. Make sure its expenditures are reasonable. That Twitter's like primarily a software company. There are obviously design elements, but it's primarily software and servers. And so, is the software team organized well? those that are committing good code, and just making the engine of engineering work at Twitter. Because if you look at, say, like, what is Twitter's technology evolution over time, excluding acquisitions, it's been very low. Its technology of Twitter has been very slow.
There's an edit button.
Yeah, exactly. The edit button, look, I mean, if it takes you here to do an edit button and the edit button still doesn't work properly, then you can have a million good ideas, but they're irrelevant because you can't implement them.
So Elon, I've got a quick question for you, my friend. I was removed from space.
Hey, I want to test my mic. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you. Maybe can you hear me?
Alex, we can hear you.
Yeah, go ahead. Let Alex up. Okay. Does Alex want to go, and then I can go?
Can you hear me?
Yeah,
we can hear you.
Yeah. Okay. So my question was, if the files are those also going to include other content other than provided? So basically, all cases.
Yeah.
Alex, Mario, we can't hear you.
This is a bit of an audio shit show. Let's try and get this back on the road. I unmuted everyone. I'm now going to unmute those who are not talking. Just mute yourself, please.
I would like to ask Elon a quick question.
Okay, trying this again.
I think Alex just did, and he was ready to respond. He just now would have to unmute himself to respond to Alex.
Yeah, I was just wondering if all accounts that were requested to have things taken down by the DNC and by the Biden campaign, even ones that have nothing to do with the Hunter Biden laptop, if they will also be released.
Elon, you're muted.
You got to unmute. Yeah, you got to unmute.
Yep, he's got to unmute.
That's all right. Yes, the intent to release all the files. So it's not like anything that's hidden or any.
I can't hear anybody.
He jumped out. Is my mic good, Kim, by the way? Is my mic okay?
We can hear you.
You just sound like you are in
It's back.
Oh, okay.
Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can't.
Yeah.
You cut out. Yeah, you cut out for a second.
Yeah. I mean, I think this is like whatever Stasi files or Truth and Reconciliation, like Nelson Mandela would say. It's if you want reconciliation, there must be truth. So that's the intent here. Intent here is to just make it clear what was happening and provide transparency about the past, and in doing so, to build trust about the future.
Awesome. So do you think that Twitter could also have an automatic notification if anyone was, say, if their account was requested content taken down? Do you think there could be something like that implemented?
Yeah, like the VPN sites actually offer that.
Yeah, I mean, you mean it's like if a government has a takedown request or something like that?
Yeah. If a government
example,
says, "Hey, we want you censored," I mean, I think
for example,
Germany would let you know, right? So why doesn't America? Yeah.
Or with James Woods, for example, how his content was, they requested his content be removed. Say if that happened from the Biden campaign.
I think both past and future requests should be made public. And sunshine is a great disinfectant, and so if they request content takedowns that are embarrassing, then they'll be less likely to request those content takedowns. At the end of the day, Twitter, it doesn't have a choice but to abide by the laws of the U.S. and whatever countries it's operating in. Otherwise, you get arrested. But we shouldn't do more than that. It should be abide by the laws because you have to. If there may be some potential to say like, well, if we disagree with the law, maybe we can lobby to have a law changed or something like that. But
so Elon, I want to ask you on this point. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I'm saying the overarching goal here, on balance, that Twitter be a force for good for the future of civilization, and for the expansion of consciousness.
So to that point, I want to ask you then, because I'm speaking from the European lens, what do you think about the EU's proposals over potential restrictions to the use of Twitter?
A little bit.
Or equally, you had a fanfare with Alex Vindman earlier this week. I was wondering if you would be interested in a space for you and him, since I know him from the week ago. We had a chat. I invite you to debate. If you'd be interested. But
don't waste your time with the intelligence community, man.
Seriously,
I'm teasing. But I am curious about your thoughts on the European Union perspective.
Well, actually, a lot of the EU rules call for things that I agree with, which is transparency and sort of an ability for users to appeal and have a clear process. So I think in terms of the Digital Services Act, I think it's mostly good. I think we have to watch the implementation of it and make sure the implementation is not bad for the people of Europe, but the actual, I think most of what is in there I agree with, because it's transparency and accountability. It seems quite sensible. We just need to make sure that it's not warped in a bad direction. But generally, I agree with it, or at least what I know of it today.
I have a question for you, Elon. That we don't allow governments to define what misinformation or disinformation is, right? I mean, that is probably the most dangerous development, to give governments that kind of power that they become the deciders of what's true and what is not.
Yeah, no, that is a big deal. I agree. That goes to the heart of the situation. Is that you don't want to have governments, and especially it may not even be it may not be an elected official. It may be someone who's potentially a mid-level executive in a ministry who's deciding this, and who people don't even know exists and was never elected, despite being in a democratic country. So
what about the China presence? What role do you think that Twitter can have in helping to support Iran, Ukraine, China, and other countries that are facing, technological oppression and limitation in their access to freedom of speech?
Well, I mean, like I said, we'll do whatever is possible within the bounds of the law. So,
I have kind of a personal question. I've been curious. Was there a great
man? That's a good question.
Thank you.
I was hoping you would say the child exploitation that you've done more to get rid of in the past month than they did in the past 10 years on Twitter. And I wanted to thank you for that. And I'm sorry that the media has completely snubbed you on mentioning the fact that you guys have gone above and beyond to make that happen. And Eliza Blue, thank you for your work and efforts there.
Yeah, I'd like to say thank Eliza Blue. I'd like to thank Andrea as well. We've actually had, this is actually like a really good case of crowdsourcing of having people on Twitter actually help solve the child exploitation stuff. It is true. Yes, Twitter's done more to stop child exploitation in the last month than probably the last 10 years. That's insane. It kind of blows my mind, frankly. and we're going to keep doing it, and it's always going to be number one. I mean, it's like kids can't defend themselves, so we must defend them as adults. So, yeah.
Mario, we can't hear you.
No, you just sound like a mosquito now.
Sounds like he's in the toilet, to be honest.
Elon, do you still have plans to drop the W? Everyone is asking.
I mean, technically the poll did come out positive on that. So
the people have spoken.
No, the people have not spoken. But more to my question, like, I don't think you answered that. Like, I want to know, like, what was the breaking point? I think a lot of people want to know this one. Like, what was the breaking point that made you want to buy Twitter?
Well, first of all, I suppose if Twitter had been, if I'd been able to buy Twitter sooner, then I might have actually done that. But there had to be a situation where my liquidity was enough and Twitter's value was, with there was essentially a closing price. Like, would I actually have it? That wasn't the case until recently. But I guess it just felt like for some time. So I wouldn't say there was it wasn't like a step change suddenly. This is a one thing. It's not like, oh, the Babylon B got banned, that's why I bought Twitter. That would be crazy. It's more that there just seemed to be like this more and more groupthink amongst the media, more and more sort of towing the line amongst digital social media companies, and basically just we're traveling the path more and more of suppression of free speech, and this was just getting me concerned. It's like the trends were just very, very bad. So unless something was done to reverse this trend against free speech, then I felt, well, maybe that at some point everything will just get cut off, and unless you're in agreement with whatever the groupthink is, then you're just going to be ostracized, or your voice will be shut off. So like I said, it wasn't any one thing. It was just like, okay, I think I can't exactly say why, because it's like one of those things where it's like it's just that my biological neural net said it is important to buy Twitter, and just like with a digital neural net, you can't really exactly explain why the neural net is able to understand an image or text, but just say that the collective result of the neural net says that this is an important action, or this is the right action, and my biological neural nets concluded that it was important to buy Twitter, and that if Twitter was not bought and steered in a good direction, that it would be a danger for the future of civilization. And so that's why I bought it.
That's brilliant.
Elon, you mentioned the biological neural net and the digital neural net. When is Neuralink to be ready to copy our consciousness into a computer?
Whatever. Where can I sign up for it? Because I would love to have my brain augmented. It's like cyberpunk.
Yeah, exactly. It's going full cyberpunk at this point. Deus Ex.
Elon, I want to pose the other side to that. I'm sure you're familiar with Doctor Who, right? And cybermen, and this idea of a centralized system by which you can influence people's thoughts. Is that not a consideration that you have on your radar, if you get what I'm coming from?
Well, I mean, frankly, on the neural on the Neuralink front, if I look at the pace at which artificial intelligence is improving versus the pace at which Neuralink is progressing, artificial intelligence is moving much faster than Neuralink is moving, because as soon as anything gets done with humans, it gets very slow because of the danger to humans. So for the next few years, Neuralink is really just focused on restoring movement to people that have a broken neck or spine and restoring vision. So it's restoring movement and vision. It's not, uploading memories or controlling thoughts or anything like that. It's pretty basic stuff. It's like the early days of computers,
It's basic, but it's life-changing, though, right? I mean, being able to see, if you're born blind, that's a gift that I don't think, anyone could pass up. That would be amazing.
Yeah, and that's very doable. What I'm saying about Neuralink is that you'll be able to see anything that Neuralink's doing. You'll be able to see coming from very far off, because you've got to go through the whole FDA device approval process. That takes ages. You wait the humans, and that takes a long time. So it basically is very slow compared to the development of digital superintelligence, which is very fast. Now, I do think for a long time that we ought to be more cautious in the development of digital superintelligence because this represents a danger to the public. And just as we have other regulatory agencies that oversee dangers to the public, like the FDA or the FAA or any one of a number of FCC, you can't just have companies just going hog wild on developing digital superintelligence with no oversight.
Do you potentially see this happening in a country where there are no oversights, where the governments allow the scientists to go hog wild, as you said?
Well, look, there's the things we can control and the things we can't control, and I think there should be some kind of oversight in North America and Europe, which is where a lot of the AI innovation is happening. There should be some kind of oversight beyond nothing, which is currently the case. So,
how far do you think we are from general artificial intelligence? Like, what is your time frame, you think, until we have the big deal?
I think it's happening very fast. You have to say, AGI is defined by where digital superintelligence is smarter than the smartest human. But what is your definition of AGI?
Yeah, exactly. Once AI is able to basically program itself and understands how to advance itself, that would be the level where we need to start to worry, right?
Yeah.
Well, to add to that, Elon, what about this, global pandemic, we had the Great Resignation, and now there's the concern about the replacement of traditional labor jobs with, AI and machine technology. I think it was you, I saw the video, and the capacity for it to control things with its mind. Is not a concern about the potential impact it has on very menial jobs and those people who don't have necessarily the skills or ability to retrain that quickly. Just, how can we plan in advance to minimize the consequences of that?
Sorry, the audio is right now, so no worries.
Hey,
Yeah, we can't hear you, Mario.
Maybe we can have another space sometime in the future to talk about AI, because I think that is one of the big topics, where a lot of people don't really realize how big the risk of AI is, and what you are always asking for is, more regulation, better rules in order to prevent the worst case scenario of, an AGI taking over and basically wiping out.
Like an artist and their jobs. Midjourney has basically replaced graphic artists for book covers. You don't need a book artist anymore. You can just do it with AI.
Not to change the subject back to the Twitter files, but Kim, I just want to ask Elon a quick question about Section 230. Are you concerned about that now, and what the government could potentially do to Section 230 as a result of the flattening that you're creating at Twitter and all the truth that you're pushing out and the objectivity?
Well, I think it is, and I did say this on Twitter publicly. It is good that we actually that the House will be Republican. It's generally not a good idea if the House, Senate, and executive branch are all of one party. Then you have sort of, at least then they will check the worst excesses of both parties. So I think I think it's good that the House will be Republican. And at least. And people interpret that as like, oh, I must be some huge Republican or something. It's like, no, I'm a huge moderate, actually, is what I am. It's just like, I wish people would rigorously moderate. But by its nature, being moderate does not lend itself, you don't be, it's like, to be fanatically moderate. but fanaticism and
be a radical centrist. I think some YouTubers like to say, right? Be a radical centrist.
Yeah, exactly, radical centrist. So it's just like you want to have the government pass laws that are in the best interest of the people, not that are in the interest of a small segment of the people. So that's why I think if you have a mixture of parties in control, then they will pass only things that sort of are the intersection of what most parties agree on. Not going to be in the interest of the people. So I think I guess I feel pretty okay about that Section 230 stuff.
Elon, can you just quickly, guys? Can you hear me now or no? I've got great speakers that just came up because now it's not glitching for me anymore. So I've just welcomed Clayton, Patrick, David is on stage as well, and there's more speakers about to come up that all of you would know. Now my space is working. So guys, feel free to jump in and ask Elon any questions.
Hey, thank you so much.
If you want to retry the co-host thing too, Mario.
I will now. Go ahead, Clay, and then Patrick. Go ahead, Clay.
Hey, thanks, Elon. This is Clayton from Redacted. One of the stories we've been covering on our show over the past couple of months is Dr. Shiba's lawsuit. He was banned from Twitter running for the Senate from Massachusetts, and one of the things in his lawsuit that was uncovered was the back-end government portal to both Facebook and Twitter, the trusted Twitter partnership. And I know on Twitter's blog that trusted Twitter partnership between Twitter and someone with a government email address to Twitter, and basically have accounts banned, taken down. Is that portal, is that trusted partnership still available to the government? And given what you've released in the Twitter files, does it make sense for that to still be there?
I'm going to dig into this trusted partnership thing. Obviously that has like some Big Brother vibes. Twitter will adhere to the law, but it will not do. It's not going to go beyond the law. And if there are laws that don't seem to be the interest of the people, then Twitter will push to change the laws to be in the interest of the people. But I'll dig into this trusted partnership thing, find out what's going on.
I do watch Redacted, and they're doing an amazing job, so keep it going.
Eric, did you have Eric, Sebastian, did you have a question?
Yeah, yes.
Go ahead, Eric.
Maybe a follow-up to the prior question. The files, the things that you found, did you find between which political?
I've not directly seen that. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I've not seen it yet. In fact, in terms of the Twitter files, Matt Seabee's read way more than I have, like by a ton. Because my priority has been just getting Twitter healthy and fixing Twitter engineering so that we can actually, release features at a high rate. So, that's been my priority on the Twitter front. Is we've got to get Twitter to be in a financially healthy place, fix the engine of engineering, so we can add the features and capabilities that'll make it much better, and improve transparency and trust and all that. So, actually, I don't most of the stuff. I've read hardly any of the Twitter files. Matt TV has. And then Barry Weiss is just getting access to it, so feel free to.
Have you been in contact with any of the other social platforms, Meta, Google, etc., since the release of the files? Has there been any pushback, any concerns, anything at all, or it's been pretty quiet?
They haven't reached out to me, so I'm not aware of any outreach from them. So I guess look, if there's like stuff that the public should know about, then we'll put it out there. I told Matt Bibby and Barry White, hey, listen, whatever you see, if you think you should know about it.
With regards to the dissemination of information, so right now it's just Matt Taibbi and Barry Weiss. Do you have any plans to maybe give access to more journalists, like say Ryan Saavedra of Daily Wire, Jack Posobiec? He's done lots of coverage on this stuff even previously, so I'm sure they'd love to know.
Maybe at some point we should just put it all out there, I think in the beginning it's good to have some coherence, so it's not just a million stories all at once.
Yeah, it makes sense. Yeah, it's a drip feed at first, and then later on it's going to be a flood, right? Because otherwise it's just too many stories, too much all at once, and then people can't really focus on anything. Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, you just get drowned out in the flood of things. But I think once we think the stories the critical stories have been told, then I think probably the right move is to just provide a data dump, and then people can go through it and see what was missed.
Are you surprised at all about the blowback against Matt Taibbi over the past 24 hours? I mean, a number of liberal news organizations, a lot of liberal news reporters came out and really slammed Matt Taibbi, which really was really shocking. What's your response to that?
Well, I think those people should be looking in the mirror and wondering why they were deceptive. Why did they deceive the American public? And instead of trying to redirect blame to Matt Taibbi, they need to be accepting some responsibility themselves for not being truthful to the American public.
Elon, it's Mike Cohen here. Congratulations on, of course, the acquisition of Twitter. But my question to you is, how are you going to go about combating the issue of bot farms who create so much misinformation and hate on your platform?
If the last thing I do, I will defeat the damn bots and trolls.
Maybe they need like a mind virus that purges them. It just makes it self-destructive.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's war, and we're gonna win that war, big time.
Yeah, because
I'm confident you will.
Because the extent of the hatred that these bots cause is astronomical, and it's really terrible. But thank you for your commitment to that.
Absolutely.
Can I jump in and ask a question here, Michael?
Just real quick. I wanted to say something about the bots. So there are, of course, commercial bots, right? People trying to do spam, but the more dangerous bots are those that are trying to interfere in discourse and try to manipulate the conversation. And those are primarily run by governments, right? They're run by the intelligence community in different countries. They're trying to manipulate the way people are talking, for example, about Ukraine. I think one of the more famous examples here are the so-called NAFO that are going out and shooting everyone down.
Real people.
Yeah, often they're mixing it, right? So the intelligence community does it in that way. They have automated, and then they even let their intelligence community employees work with Twitter profiles to chime in as well. But all with one goal to make cuts. And I think you experienced that yourself when you spoke out for peace in Ukraine. You were attacked by these same bots.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I said, I've been in the job a month. I'm very good at software. I wrote software for 20 years, and I was very good back in the day at defeating the scammers. They were. Hackers had free reign in the system before. They will not have that in the future. I look forward to that battle, and we will expose those who are acting to manipulate public opinion and shine a bright light on it.
There was a point at which I was told by someone who apparently had access to this Discord server for these NATO or NAVO trolls that I was among their top targets, or even the number one target for a while. So I'm just sort of a personal curiosity. By the way, this is Michael Tracy. And so, Elon, I'm just curious if you were able to detect or gauge any inauthentic activity on Twitter specifically related to this sort of pro-Ukraine faction, or is there a particular sort of system that kind of connects those actors that you were able to discern since you've taken the helm?
Well, the Twitter currently has to detect large-scale manipulation are quite weak. Strengthen. That's why. But in order for that to be strengthened, we must, like I said, and to be able to sort of see what's going on in the system. Over and over again, it's been that's actually the issue. We need to build the tools that can analyze what's going on and see where is there evidence of large-scale manipulation, and in order to highlight it. And I think even if it's not shut down, even if it's simply highlighted and said, wait a second, these accounts are all acting in concert. They're acting in a way that is faster than a human could possibly coordinate. This appears to be a linked, 100,000 linked that are all acting in concert, and to say, expose them essentially. But those software tools need to be written, and they've not yet been written. But they will be.
I have written those tools, so I can give them to you.
Right, Elon, wouldn't it be easier if you were able to use some form of two-part authentication in order to ensure that the individual...
You've jumped out, Ian. You've jumped out, Michael. Oh, you're back. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, Elon, would it not be easier to just use some form of two-part authentication to ensure that the individual is who they say they are?
Yes. So this part of what's the game plan with the sort of blue verify thing is that right now it is there are problems on many levels. It's too cheap to have a bot. So or even a troll. Like it's not just that somebody's upgrading a bunch of 10,000 instances of Twitter accounts. It's like you can have a warehouse, and there are many parts of the world, like warehouse where there's just banks with phones. The challenge right now. So the challenge is actually you have to make it more expensive to have bots and trolls. It's like a guy sitting in front of 8 phones, right? That's just how they operate. Exactly. It's like the farms are guys sitting in front of 8 phones. Yeah, Well, unfortunately, the disinformation budget for the CIA for these NAFO bots is over $100 million. I mean, even if you throw $8 per month per account in front of them, it's not. Is that really going to stop them? Not the $8. If it was purely a question, then I think that they could overcome a budget challenge. But also then having to have a huge number of phones and a huge number of credit or debit cards, these all amplify the difficulty. And then having, if you want to do it such that you can't find any connection between 100,000 phones and 100,000 credit cards and 100,000 authenticated phone numbers, that's very difficult to do. But just the logistical difficulty of that is extremely high. So it's more like we need to process some amount of money through the payment system in order to piggyback off the authentication of the payment system. So $8 is kind of like a random number, obviously. But there's another thing that has to be accomplished simultaneously, which is that Twitter cannot be so heavily dependent on advertisers. So this is an attempt to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Which is build a source of revenue that is not advertised. So the advertisers do not have too much sway over what happens on Twitter, and also use the payment as an additional means of identifying and stopping large-scale manipulation of the system. In other words, users just signing up. The advertisers are going to realize that they need them to advertise. So it's win-win, right? Yeah.
Hey, Kim, can I ask you a quick follow-up to my question? Would you mind?
Okay, I have to just stop this for a second because everyone is talking over each other. Elon just made a really important point, which is that he has more freedom to do what's dependent on advertisers. So there's a large group of people here. I think everyone who appreciates what Elon is doing for us right now in this fight for freedom of speech should support him. And the best way you can support him is to become a subscriber at Twitter. You're using this great service all the time. If you want him to have more power and more freedom to achieve these goals for us, well, make that $8 a month investment. I think it's really worth it.
Did Elon already say when he plans to reinstate the verification, the $8 verification process?
Yeah,
Elon, you're muted.
Elon, you're muted. I was going to tell you because Kim muted everyone.
Sorry, it seems to sometimes mute me, I guess. I think we're probably about a week away. Basically, this coming week we should be able to restart the verification process.
Will it be global or is it just the U.S. still?
actually haven't discussed that with the team. So this time for verification, we're taking some additional steps where one has to be phone verified with a known good carrier, a known good phone carrier, and we'll also we'll offer people the opportunity, if they want, to do ID verification, kind of like what Airbnb does, similar thing, and they do that all around the world. And then you'll be able to look at an account and say, this account is payment verified, it is verified, it is ID verified, optionally, and also to establish organizational affiliation. Do you actually have affiliation with this organization? And providing organizations with the ability to define, to state which set of users are affiliated with that organization. So, like, are you actually a professor at Stanford, or are you actually, for example, a reporter at the New York Times or whatever, or an employee of PepsiCo or whatever it is. Just generally to have granularity and nuance to what verified means, as opposed to the sort of like grab bag of nonsense, which has been the blue verified situation. You've been an intern at Mashable 10 years ago, and now you've got verified. And they were also just being traded. So you can't actually tell if something is for legacy blue. You can't tell if that is a legitimate situation, a crypto scam, whether they're actually you don't know because there's no granularity to it. And there's a way to buy them off of Google right now. Like you can literally Google verified accounts and they sell them for like $200, $500 or something, right? Yes, exactly. It's not like not like you have to go to the in quotes dark web to buy Blue Verified. You can literally Google search it on the phone. And it's on page 1 of the Google search results if you want to buy it. And they get verified. So it's just basically it's just like make it verified in this Robin cloud. And so we need to move forward with something that gives granularity and detail and nuance about the nature of the verification, so that you can actually trust what you see.
Elon, you said some really admirable things about freedom of speech and your commitment to it and its role in the future of humanity. You didn't answer the question about supporting protesters in China and Iran. Is there freedom of speech for Chinese people important?
It's already banned in China. Just so you know, like Twitter is inaccessible in China. You need VPN, so it's kind of a pointless question.
So you don't think making it right
matters?
No, it's not Elon. It's not Elon blocking it. Tommy, you had a question, Tommy?
That was Tommy.
Oh, okay, go ahead, Tommy.
That was he was wrong.
Can you address the question of the freedom of speech at Sebastian Goldfield? Because a lot of people are confused that it's a First Amendment issue, what was dumped by Matt Taibbi. The First Amendment to the government, unless it was the Biden administration afterwards being gone. And they don't need to wait for anything else. Could you address that issue, Mr. Musk?
Yeah, well, first of all, actually, there are issues if there's actually interference before the government, because that is, I think, an issue. Certainly, Twitter. It would appear that Twitter falsely claimed that there was not interference, but
that has to do with in-kind contributions. That's a very different kind of thing, and it is criminal. But can you tell us if there will be more smoking guns coming?
Yeah, I think there will be more smoking guns, because the obvious next question is, well, what happened after the election?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's probably the right thing for episode 2, is what happened after the election.
And how long do we have to wait for episode 2?
I don't know. I'll check with Matt.
Will, just quickly. Will, go ahead, Will.
Thank you, Elon. Apologies if you addressed this earlier. I appreciate how long you've been on this call. what subjects outside of Hunter Biden, by the way, this is Will Kane from Fox News, what subjects outside of Hunter Biden were subject to the most government-induced censorship?
As I said, you may not have heard my earlier comment, but I don't actually, like I said, me personally, I've been working on getting Twitter to be healthy and fixing the engine of engineering. I've not been sort of poring over the Twitter files personally. That's sort of been, Matt Taibbi is doing that. Barry White is going to do it now as well. So anything I say would be somewhat of a, guesswork, really. So I don't know. There's obviously a lot of questions around Jan 6. There's questions around, COVID. There's a lot of questions. But I think the important thing is that we just get, bring daylight to all of these things. And so anything that Twitter has done, and sometimes a lot of times Twitter's done things that were just not, it wasn't malicious, it was just foolish. So the things that are
like me looking for NPCs, right? For posting NPC memes of thousands of people were banned.
Yeah, exactly.
Just with the companies that stopped advertising on Twitter, which I think most of us agree is just not right, has there been discussions with them? And what are some other strategies to bring in revenue so we depend less on advertisers?
You can hear this is Eric Bowling again. I'm trying to express any knowledge or you can have any proof that there's some indication that a lot of people on the right side of the political aisle lost a ton of followers. I would say from 2015, 2016, all the way through towards the end of 2021. Anecdotally, myself, I lost 80,000 or so, and not until this is literal, not until you purchase Twitter did I start gaining followers again in a fairly robust manner. Is there any proof of that? Do you have any evidence of that being sort of a plan or a strategy on Twitter's part?
Again, like I said, I have not read the Twitter files, so it's difficult for me to say that, except so my understanding is limited, and that's why I would leave it to Matt Taibbi and Barry Weiss and ultimately others, which is what it is. But if I say what is my best guess is that there was a very different standard applied to Republican candidates in the U.S. versus Democrat candidates. So there appears, and I emphasize it appears, I'm not saying this is definitely the case, there appears to have been a double standard where Democrats were not censored and left causes were not censored, but right causes and Republicans were. And I think this is frankly obvious to anyone who uses Twitter without any expose. It was not even intended, and it's an organization that is based in San Francisco, which is far left. So from their standpoint, it wouldn't seem like that they're being unfair. That from their standpoint, I think Matt posted like political contributions to Twitter. Would you expect people to have them? It's a behavior you'd expect from this.
And I hope that.
By the way, just really quick, by the way, I want to make a suggestion. I want to make a suggestion real quick. Elon, when you are speaking, we can hear you really well. When you are listening, the background noise from your jet is interfering a little.
Okay.
Can you just mute yourself?
He needs an EV jet.
Yeah. So anyway, I have a question. So when you're making the files available to everybody, or rather more people, I would just like to request that I don't know, give it to me because I work for Rebel News, and I think we could do a tremendous job covering this as much as anybody else, really. Yeah.
So Tim Cass is trying to come up, by the way. Elon just asked you a question. But in the meantime, I'm just want to go back, and I know that Persistence has a question as well. I'll give you the mic right after Persistence. But one question again, back to the advertisers, Elon. Not sure if you heard it before. Progress there with the advertisers that stopped advertising on Twitter, which we agree is just not right, and any other strategies to bring revenue outside of advertising. You're muted, Elon.
So appreciate it. Apple is the single biggest advertiser on Berkeley and recently, so thanks Apple for advertising. And I think we're seeing we are starting to see a lot of other advertisers also resume their spending. I think the problem is that they would read all these stories in the media and then think that they were true, and they're not true. And then as this is becoming clear that the media stories about Twitter being some sort of like right-wing hellscape, which it absolutely isn't. And in fact, it is. There are far fewer bots, far fewer trolls, and it's actually, I think, way more fun and interesting. And we're seeing that in the user minutes and in the daily average users. Then advertisers are like, oh, okay, I guess maybe it is safe to get back in the water. And so we are seeing advertisers resume advertising on Twitter. So that's a good sign. I wish it would be faster, but we are seeing them resume. The more concerning factor on the advertising front is just the entire industry-wide drop in advertising, which Twitter is not immune from. So even though advertisers do get back on, the advertising expenditures in general are dropping for all companies. And so it is imperative that Twitter have an alternate revenue source, hence the subscriber revenue, which is just very important for both the survival and for Twitter, and to reduce its dependence on advertising. So yeah, overall, I think I'm cautiously optimistic about the future. Yeah, so
I'll add one point of credit. Like I have no stance. I have nothing against the old executives at Twitter, etc. But very objectively speaking, what you've done in a month, and being objective, it's fucking insane. The amount of progress that you've had and where at now. I thought you need more credit. You're getting a lot here by that as well. I'll give the mic to the team and then Spike. Go ahead, Persistence.
Well, on from the social media, my question is, do we have any information on advertisers threatening to pull money from Twitter if Twitter did not adhere to a policy? And additionally, do we have any information on congressmen or women who have threatened legislation should Twitter not adhere to a certain policy? And last, I was really intrigued by your comment on positivity and negativity in tweets. You saying that positive tweets would go further. And I just wanted to see what would constitute the measurement from Twitter that would make something positive or negative. Thank you.
You're muted, Elon. Oh, you're back.
Yeah, sure. Well, the advertisers, for the most part, the advertisers are quite rational in that, especially if you're advertising a family-friendly product, that you don't want to be sort of, like let's say you're advertising a Disney movie, you don't want to have like some super negative sort of hate speech, or and also a movie or whatever. And you also they don't want to have not safe for work content right next to ads for children toys and stuff like that. So that stuff is quite reasonable, and I agree with that. Advertisers have a right to have their advertising be next to non-advertising content that is consistent with their brand. So that really just means like not attempting to monetize with advertising content that advertisers are uncomfortable with. So I think in general it's been okay. I mean, I think there has been some overzealous action by activists that the advertisers that then in turn pressure Twitter. And we're trying to sort of, that I thought was somewhat unreasonable. But I think in a good direction going. I'm not sure, but it looks like it's headed in a good direction. Like I said, advertisers are returning to Twitter. Apple's back at full ad spend. I've had a number of conversations with the advertiser groups, and in those conversations, the advertisers have responded positively. And I've also just, because they're like, I mean, they basically end up reading the sort of mainstream media, and it's like, and then they end up with all the wrong impressions of what's going on. And I said, well, have you tried using Twitter? Do you see these things for yourself? And they're like, actually, it seems fine when we use Twitter. Like, yes, that's because it is fine. And so then, and then I also tell them, like, look, as we try to grow Twitter's user base, if a new user comes on Twitter and then is immediately attacked by trolls and dumped on, they're going to want to leave. So, because who wants to go? It's like going into a party or something and everyone just starts yelling at you. You're going to want to leave that party. So, Twitter does need to be a more welcoming environment for new users. And so the incentives are actually aligned. That if people come on and they see interesting, funny tweets, things that where they learn something new, or it's entertaining, it's funny, it's like that's the kind of thing that we should see more of. And that's consistent with what most advertisers want, I think, and what Twitter wants in order to grow the user base. And then just generally over time, it's like kind of, people can be, to some degree, choose what sort of experience or like. Just like people want to listen to sort of smooth jazz, be listening, or they may want to go to, pop music, or they want to go to heavy metal thrash, and, to each their own. Or if this was, like full contact arts, you want to have, light contact or yoga. Decide which one of those, what kind of experience you want. That's going to be important in order to have Twitter appeal to a broad audience. So that's the rough game plan.
Tom, I'll let
Elon, you had mentioned, just wanted to ask really quick. He had mentioned different color check marks for verification for different entities. Was that still going to be part of the new verification process?
Yeah, so again, like the goal is like to say, how do you convey to people using Twitter as quickly as possible, as clearly as possible, what they're seeing. So there will be a gold check mark for commercial organizations, a gray check mark for government, and a blue check mark for verified individuals. And then there will also be an organizational affiliation logo. So like next to your check, if you, let's say, a verified user, if you are a professor at Stanford and Stanford is participating in identifying who is a professor, then there would be like a tiny Stanford logo that would appear next to your blue check. So then as you're scrolling, it's like you can see, oh, this is actually a Stanford professor, or this person actually did his work at Coca-Cola. And there's a charity there.
Will there be a process for this to apply for an organization, and you want to apply for this status? Will it be available to the public, or is it something that's going to be very selective?
No, it will be available to the public. So it's sort of, it's not going to be like an anointed set of companies. Now, there will be a strong policy against impersonation and deception. So if someone's attempting to deceive users, then their account will be suspended. So that's yeah.
I've got a question here. I'll give it to Tom, just by a pretty notable person that doesn't want to disclose their identity, but it's a simple question. By the way, anyone that has a question, you can DM me. The team is checking all the DMs. The question is plans for crypto Twitter payments, whether it's going to be like WeChat or whether you have plans at all.
Dogecoin.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, hell yeah, Dogecoin to the moon.
Doge to the moon.
Yeah,
I think we do want to have Twitter enable both regular payments and fiat currency, and make it easier to transact with crypto. Yeah.
Okay, I've got another question here from a big YouTuber as well. Elon, one of the first. So they're asking, they want to bring YouTube creators to Twitter. What's your plan with? What's your Twitter creator plan, if there is one?
Well, for video, we need to upgrade the Twitter system to be able to have video, and then enable creators to derive revenue from viewership, which is a combination of advertising and subscription. So these are obviously things that need to happen. Like I said, in order for these to happen, like you can have a wish list a mile long, but if engine of engineering is not fixed, the wish list is long. So that's why I am focused on fixing Twitter engineering. For that, whatever you wish for cannot be done because the engineering is not working.
Hey, I have a really great suggestion for you.
And right after you, just go ahead, Kim. Sorry.
Yeah, you know how foreign media is labeled on Twitter often as like Russian-controlled, state-controlled media? Why don't we do the same thing in the U.S. with all of these media organizations that are telling us to go to war? You know, this is all great. Like, why don't we label them as well, U.S. government state media?
No, I think that's a good idea. Because, it's like SBF gave so much money to different media organizations that, and then they just write these puff pieces, and it's like, okay, we should be labeling that SBF affiliated media because it is. Like if you're gonna write a puff piece about someone who gave you a ton of money, then the public should know that you maybe have a bias. So yeah, I mean, I think it should be if something is taking direction from the state, then that information should be made clear to the readers. Like who really has editorial control should be clear. Because that's all part of like trying to give users on Twitter the most accurate and truthful understanding of what's going on, and being able to calibrate what they read and see or hear on Twitter, to be able to calibrate the truthfulness as a function of where is it coming from, who is the author, who is controlling this from an editorial standpoint, and so then they can apply reasonable data in that case.
Yeah, to level the playing field, because when you want to find out about what's going on in Ukraine, and you get it from sources that are labeled in a certain way, and the US isn't labeled at all, the problem with that is that people think this source is trustworthy and this source is not trustworthy. So if Twitter had a plan, then it need to be applied fairly also against media that is clearly pro-war and clearly infiltrated by commentators from the intelligence community who are telling us all this bullshit about why we have to be at war.
I agree. I mean, this is the maximum truth is the truth still set you free. So, yeah, I agree.
Tom, do you want to ask? I know you've been waiting for a while, Tom.
Thank you for having me.
Go ahead, soon, so maybe just a couple more questions, and then I gotta go back to work here.
I'll ask. I'll let Tom jump in. He's been waiting. Yeah, just before goes.
And we appreciate keep innovating and keep creating. Thank you.
And Elon, I'll shut us. Go ahead, Tom. I'll let you ask your question, Tom, and then I'll jump in. Go ahead, Tom.
I don't think Tom's here.
Yeah, so I'll jump in, Elon. My question to you, because Tom's not working on his end. Well, it's actually a simple question. I'm going to shoot my shot. If I can get a DM on Twitter, so I have a line of communication, and then I can try to get you on, convince you to join more spaces. So it's not a question. It's just giving it a shot on my end. I appreciate you joining again.
This is Tom again.
Tom, go ahead. I said my word. That's your turn.
Yeah, thank you. This is Tom. I appreciate your public service and your transparency efforts here. My concern is, as the head of a watchdog group, is the government corruption in response, not only to what you potentially may uncover, but in response to what you're doing. And when you have the President of the United States from the podium celebrating his national security review activities, there's, other government agencies investigating you and your other businesses. And you are so ready.
Hey, you're muted, Elon.
About anything government related is that they're not nimble, they're slow. So I think the actions that we'll see, and I think there probably will be some actions will happen, but they'll happen slowly. And it's only been a month so far, but I would expect some. There's probably at least a few nefarious things that are in the works right now. I say it would be naive to assume that there are no nefarious things. And so I guess but I will just expose them on Twitter and see what happens.
Well, the most important thing, you don't have any suicidal thoughts, do you, Elon?
I do not have any suicidal thoughts. If I committed suicide, it's not real.
Bro, that was damn good one. Clay, I know Elon has to jump off, so maybe one more question or one or two. Clay, and then Ian, I'll let you end it, Ian, because you've done a great job asking questions earlier. Clay, go ahead.
Yeah, Elon, this is Clay Travis with Outkick Fox News and radio show with Clay and Fox. You said earlier, and I think it's so important, that you were thinking about just letting everybody know when you get a governmental request to censor someone or take what kind of process is in play there, and to what extent can that happen? Because I think you're right. The government being embarrassed, James Woods, for instance, drastically reduced any attempts at censorship. What's the update there? What kind of time frame? And do you think that's able to be implemented?
You're muted, Elon.
I mean, as I said earlier, Twitter will do whatever it's allowed to do within the boundaries of the law to be as transparent and open as possible. And even something, if we currently are, and I don't know this to be the case, but if we are currently constrained by the law, I think we will push to have the law modified to reduce those constraints. Because I think we have to we have to fight hard for free speech, which is the bedrock of a functioning democracy. So, I think you'll see the proof will be in the pudding, and in the coming months, I think you'll see dramatic improvements in the transparency and trustworthiness of Twitter. And I think hopefully you've seen at least some of that already, and it will get better, and I think it will get better in an accelerating way, provided I don't accidentally suicide myself, which I'm not going to do.
Elon, thank you so much for your time today. You have been such a blessing to join us, to give us your insights. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to make that poll for Edward Snowden and Julian Assange.
Yeah, I would be interested to know what the public thinks of these two people and what they're fighting for.
I will do the poll, and I'll emphasize that I'm not making. Just asking I'll do it right after this Twitter Spaces ends.
Just asking a question, right? Asking the public a question.
That's right.
Taking a poll. Yeah.
And final,
So I have a question. Okay, this is just a question. I'm not.
Yes. So I've got a question since this is the last one. What message do you have for all the haters and losers out there who are making fun of you or attacking Twitter, said it was going to die like 4 weeks ago? What's your message to them?
Little baby, it's alive. More alive than it's ever been.
Hell yeah. Beautiful.
I think it will work. I got the DM, so I assume the promise you made you, Kim, and the promise you made you, Tara, should go through. Elon, really appreciate you, and hope to see you again.
My DM, Mario.
Hope to see you again soon, Elon. I really appreciate it, man.
Thank you, Elon.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys. Bye.
And
peace, Elon.
Everyone in the audience.
Bye,
Everyone in
Elon.
the audience, just check the pinned tweet as well. I've just got the next space as well.
Congratulations, guys. That was amazing. Congratulations.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Just if everyone listening, the next space is above pinned tweet, so you can set your reminders there, just to before I forget. But fuck yeah, guys, that was everyone's muted. That was fucking insane. There you go.
Muted everybody.
But you should see the amount, guys. You should see the speakers that were trying to request to speak out. My space was glitching like crazy. A lot of people are angry. But man, you can't imagine some of the names that wanted to speak.
People are molding about me. To my knowledge, they're molding about me on their timeline. They're like, "Why is Ian speaking to Elon?" I don't know. Don't be bitter. Don't be salty.
Why does Elon speak to you? I mean, Elon responds to you very often, Ian. He likes your commentary and enjoys what you have to say. So clearly,
I've got a question for you, Ian. I've got a question for you, and maybe other speakers speak afterwards. Your biggest takeaways, because some people missed the entire Elon discussion. Mine is, I know it might sound silly, but when he talked about getting shot, etc., was joke, no joke, and when he has he's anyway. That is probably something the media will probably eat up, because it's a pretty strong statement to make. So that's my biggest take from the space. What's yours, Ian?
My biggest take from the space is how engaging he was with the audience, with the public. He didn't put himself above anybody else. He was just like anybody else, trying to do the right thing. And he has nothing but my support and admiration, because I think everybody should be like that, right? He's not in this for ego. He's not in this. He wants to make the future better. If you had any doubts about the guy, if you had any questions as to why he was doing this, does he want to control people? Does he want power? The answer is no, he doesn't. He has a vision for the future, and the vision is democracy. And that's something I think anybody can stand behind, right? This is going to benefit the largest amount of people in the world ever of any time. And we are living in a special time right now. There is no better time to be alive right now. This is the freest time. And it would be sad if it, went downhill, if it became, a tyranny again, because we've lived in centuries, millennia of tyranny. And we are at a precipice here where we can go back to tyranny, or we can, go to the stars and have freedom and democracy. And that is what he wants for us. And to me, that is inspiring. And for anybody to question it, not even question it, but to attack it, it's like, I question you. You're standing on the wrong side of history.
I want to add as well, like, if you think he's doing it for any greedy reasons, and I'm very objective. No, look, he's even discussed, I think with Jack, I think there was leaked DMs from memory about decentralizing Twitter or ways to decentralize Twitter. Like, this is the complete opposite of what any capitalist would want to do. So that's another point there.
He's like a guy who makes money so that he can use it, right? Not in the SPF kind of way, like, oh, I'm going to give it to Democratic Party officials or something. No, it's like, I make the money so I can do something good. But so what? I mean, that's capitalism. That's reality that I prefer against.
It takes balls, even for a billionaire, it takes balls to do what he did.
$44 billion is no, it's like, it's larger than most countries.
40% of Twitter, and then laying off most of the staff. And then, guys, whoever's unmuted,
he's hired more people. Keep in mind, he's hired people like George programming community. He's hiring those people, and they are making Twitter this big platform, Twitter 2.0. It's going to be a better place, bigger place.
People taking jabs at mainstream media, and now the leaks. It's like one thing after another. It's only been a month. It just takes guts, and that could either succeed spectacularly, or it could fail miserably. And at the moment, everything's pointing towards a pretty big success. Obviously, that's why we're all spending time on Twitter rather than other platforms. Like, I've stopped spending time on any other platforms.
I could be just on video game right now, but you know what? I'm spending time on Twitter. It's the best video game in existence. It's true.
The persistence. Go ahead.
Well, I think the biggest takeaway is that Elon is leveling the playing field, that you don't have to have bags of cash anymore. It's not pay for play. I mean, it is, if you've got $8, but that's the genius behind it.
$8, yeah, price of a latte.
It's not going to be the advertisers who are calling the shots anymore. It's we the people. And Kim said it earlier, that if you care about free speech, if you want to support Elon, then that $8 is going to make sure that we the people are the ones with the say. And, to everyone saying that, democracy is so important. Well, there's nothing more democratic or populist than what Elon is creating with the social media. And having those blue check marks be available to all of us is going to, again, make sure that the playing field is leveled so that you don't just have journos or organizations that are at the top of the higher echelon.
Yeah, I'm trying to bring up, by the way, Elon is in the audience listening, so he's sucking in all the compliments. Anyone that's requesting to speak, I'm trying to bring you up, and if it drops you again, just try again. It's glitching like crazy.
I can jump in. Mario, if you don't mind, I would like to give us all the quick summary.
Please do.
So what are the most important things that we've learned from this space, right? Number one, Elon obviously wants to continue with his fight for free speech. Number two, he's made very clear that no government should be telling us what disinformation or misinformation is. It's not up to them to decide that. What's also important is that, the media, and he's made that quite clear, that has been trying to cover up the Biden story in order for their candidate that they wanted to push to succeed, that they are under fire now, that was wrong, and that's why their defense is now to attack Elon this week. Completely false. Elon also said that it's important for him, that he has more freedom to do things, the things that he wants to do, by not being dependent on advertisers that can easily be scared away, politics by political. We need to succeed in this fight for free speech is to, let's just help this guy out by putting our money where our mouth is. We want him to succeed for all of us. So, let's give him this independence from advertisers, right? I am on top. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, sorry.
So is that a good argument for getting $1 a month verified check? What do you all think of that?
That there is a risk to him and his businesses, and for him to put himself in the firing line, basically, to try and make sure that humanity has freedom and has a future in which any individual has a voice and anybody can thrive. It's important to acknowledge that that he understands there's a risk even to his life potentially, and he's doing this not for profit, not for his ego, but because he is someone who likes freedom and who is fighting bullies and is for justice. So we just should just all acknowledge that. Anyone who had any doubt about why he bought Twitter should really just listen to the space. It's recorded. You can listen to it again, once we are off, and just listen to the genuine interest that Elon has and why he's doing it. So that's my 2 cents about it.
I think the problem with a lot of people is that they're so cynical. People are so cynical that they assume Elon is just as bad as anybody else, right? Because a lot of people in power, they make a bunch of promises, but they don't stick to it. Whereas Elon, when he makes a promise, he actually keeps it. That's the difference. And he takes full responsibility for every mistake that he does. That is quite unheard of, especially in a world where, executives will take a golden parachute and never admit fault. He's the one guy who doesn't do that.
I think that there are
go ahead, John, and then right after you, Evan, as well. I know you've been waiting for a while. Go ahead, John.
I got to say that I was a little breathless throughout this entire thing, not only to the comments by Elon, but also everyone in the audience. And that's my first point. We are seeing a coming of age of Twitter Spaces in of itself. When I saw the number go over 100,000, it's really establishing a certain gravitas and reality to this platform as a functional town square. So kudos to everybody, to the technical side, number one. Number two, Elon said something that I found very interesting because he coupled free speech with commerce. And I can't quite think about commerce is essential. And I think that harkens back to what's going on with on Twitter and other aspects. Thank you all.
But it's a wonderful say that with commerce, it's all about trade. And what is trade? It's the exchange of goods and services, and in this case, ideas between multiple people. So having commerce and free speech, it goes hand in hand. Without it, you basically have, dystopian communism or something. And to have that, he's like opposed to that, like diametrically. And Twitter is the embodiment of that. It's going to be the embodiment of that, where we'll have actual commerce. People will be able to trade ideas and trade goods and services. I love it personally.
And real quick, my tweet about if I commit suicide, it's fake, blew up on Twitter a little bit too. So I thought that was.
Hold on. Who made that tweet? He did.
I did. John.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's a timestamp, and I put the date and the time, so it's a timestamp, and it's real interesting.
Go ahead, Evan. I'm going to check it out now, John, and retweet it. Evan, go ahead.
Hey, thanks, guys. So good job on this whole Twitter space. I just had a point that's probably not the most popular one, but it's something that I think about all the time whenever I'm listening to, any sort of discussion on Twitter, on the internet. And the problem that I have is with free speech right now on the internet, it's really catered towards just definitive, concise statements and opinions. And I'm someone who's super logical. I don't have an agenda, and I agree and disagree partially with pretty much everyone that I hear that speaks. And it seems like there's not really a place for somebody like, that has that sort of mindset to talk, whether it's on Twitter or anywhere, because it's always very, black and white. And someone like myself either usually just stays quiet or turns to comedy. Comedy has that sort of like dark side of, you can see every, truth for what it is. But there's not really a good, like, logical way to sort of express yourself, in a formative way. It's always like whoever screams the loudest and is the most definitive gets the attention. And, again, it's like me bringing this up is like kind of like might sound pointless in a discussion like this because it's not very definitive. But I don't know if anyone has any thoughts on that.
Hey, John, jump in on this one.
What was the question again? I was looking at.
Yeah, me too. I think we're all looking at tweets. Yeah, this is. I was doing the same thing. I was trying to find John's tweet. I just tweeted it myself, and I put the link to the space because I think it's a good tweet. So John, I stopped tweeting. I want to apologize live on space. But yeah, but do you want to ask your question again, bro?
Yeah. I mean, that almost maybe proved my point of maybe it's not, this is something that isn't maybe not cared about, but the problem that I have with free speech on the internet is that it caters towards very concise, definitive statements and opinions. And I'm someone who's very logical. I don't have, luckily I'm pretty comfortable with myself, so I don't have an agenda. And I agree and disagree partially with everyone who speaks. And there's not really a place for someone like that to express themselves, other than maybe turning to something like, comedy, because comedy is sort of just
that's a very, now that I listen to it, that's something I'm battling with as well, because I made a tweet a while ago, mainstream media is biased, yet social is full of echo chambers. So that's something that for fingertip always gets going on. And Spaces is offering that opportunity, and having places like this where different views coming together. Like I've brought up people from the left, people from the right on stage today and in previous spaces.
I just think that there needs to be like a louder position for people like that. For people like that, it's just not as dramatic, and it doesn't seem as, I guess, purposeful compared to somebody screaming with a very strong opinion. But I think there's tons of people who think like me, and they just don't say anything because what's the point? Because you could disagree and agree with both sides, and you're just kind of like, this is, the easiest way for me usually is just to make fun of it and just turn to comedy and just, kind of think that the whole thing's ridiculous because you hear these people being extremists on both sides. But yeah, I don't.
It's just like what I. No, look, I think one thing I've said is like if everyone agrees with me all the time, then I'm not doing a good job. So it's just very important to have people disagree with you. And if I'm agreeing with everyone on stage, like even if Elon Musk says something I disagree with, I would actually say like I can't help myself and disagree.
So network, right? So my neural network to disagree with somebody, if I just have to say it, it has to be done, right?
Yeah, it's just, but I think it's also against human nature. Like it's so difficult to do. Like I'm sure you'll agree, Ian and Evan and anyone else. Like for anybody, it's really hard to contradict yourself and to change your mind. And I just don't know. Like I'm gonna be a bit cynical here. Like I don't. It's gonna be really difficult to fix the bias we're seeing in mainstream media, and even mainstream media. I'm not against mainstream media. Again, not all media is the same. It's not all one bucket and everyone's the same. Some are biased, more biased than others. But I just don't like. We've got an opportunity to fix with what's happening now on Twitter, and hopefully other social platforms will follow suit.
But I think the issue is that we need new blood, right? I mean, the mainstream media. What is means you replace those individuals with better ones. And suddenly it's changed. It's changed the landscape, whether this changes executives or just the editors or the producers. I don't know, right? But what needs to happen is change needs to happen. And the mainstream media right now has stagnated to a point where, once it used to
do you think mainstream media can be saved? Or do you think it's beyond saving at this point? Do we need mainstream media?
Maybe this means creating a new mainstream media, an alternative media. And I think Twitter as a platform is ripe for it because we're seeing, independent journalists like Barry Weiss and Matt Taibbi, they're growing and they're going to be releasing the Twitter files later today. And keep in mind, that's what we're here for. And so it's exciting to see where this goes in the future. So there is no single dominant narrative. There's multiple narratives.
And since we've got the mic as well, I would urge anyone that has a podcast, anyone that has a show, anyone that does spaces, bring speakers you disagree with at all times, because you're going to naturally bring people you agree with. Force yourself in at least once a week or at least in every space. Always bring people you disagree with. Every space I do, at least half the space, half the panel I disagree with, or I try not to disagree with anyone, but at least some other panelists disagree with them. So I think if we do that, there needs to be a systematic change in how we are incentivized as people that spread messages, whether it's through mainstream media or Twitter spaces. The incentives of mainstream media are skewed, chasing clicks and getting influenced by money and advertisers. Hopefully, the way that spaces are going to be monetized moving forward would, alter the incentives in a way to allow for more, not free speech, but free speech that's not echo chamber, that's more balanced as well.
Yeah, and I think that maybe I agree. Like spaces are a great way, or an actual discussion, not just definitive state. That it's easily
without worrying about getting suspended. Without worrying about getting suspended, it's a very important change as well.
Well, so guys, that's the biggest thing. I want to emphasize something real quick. Matt Taibbi has made a tweet 30 minutes ago that I think people should pay attention to. He says, looking forward to going through all the tweets complaining about PR for the richest men on earth and seeing how many of them have run stories for anonymous sources at the FBI, CIA, the Pentagon, and the White House. So I think everyone should read that story and amplify that tweet, because he's making an important point. These media organizations are pointing the finger at him for being a PR guy, when in reality, that's what they do all day, every day for the government and for the intelligence community.
Oh yes, they're mouthpieces. They're mouthpieces for the intelligence community. And of course, you go back to the 1970s when it was nefarious, where they would infiltrate newsrooms and no one knew that these people were inside. Exactly, that these people were inside newsrooms, and now they're just actively on payroll. Let's go to General, what's his name, for this war update. Let's go to former CIA, what's his name, to get an update here. And of course, they're all on the payroll now. Now it's just out there in the open.
Right. I just want to
see, by the way, John, you've created a movement. I can see a lot of big names tweeting the same thing you did.
Thank you, Molly. I appreciate it.
Everybody, it's great. A couple quick points. Number one, I think we have to recognize that there's a new guiding principle that Elon has established here, and this is it. Don't mistake intensity for hostility. He wants us to be engaged, to bring a solid point of view. So for me, he wants the debate, he wants the dialogue, he wants any of the other opinions, and that echoes some of the people in this room today. So I would argue that's a guiding principle. The other one is first principles that we all know about, but first principles have another dimension, and that's truth. And that goes back actually to Aristotle and fundamental philosophical aspects of what drives humanity, the aspect of truth and beauty, actually. So I think we're seeing the emergence of these two fundamental realities come to life in a very, very interesting and robust way this evening.
I like that. Truth and beauty.
Yeah. Hey, Mario, I would like to make a suggestion.
It's like everybody really wants truth,
this was such an important space. Would you mind?
I don't know about everybody, but
this one and open it right again, because there will be a lot of journalists who will want to go through the audio and write stories for tomorrow.
Hey, Herschel, welcome.
I've made it. I had a solution for it, Kim. Because when you close it and you reopen it, a lot of the audience wouldn't join again. But I did something. The team did record it, so any journalist that wants to record it, there's a separate device recording the entire space, so we can.
It's like we really truly want to be truthful. A lot of times we can be wrong, so we have to when we are wrong. But it wasn't done with malicious intent.
So since then, I had to close the space then.
And a lot of people, if they remain independent and free,
just tweet out a link,
then we can have really true decentralized. We need regular people that aren't driven by graphs, promises of fame, right?
It's the control and manipulation of commerce. You so well articulated that that's cognitive as well as functional. So I think that's a really interesting.
Not stopping someone from their own personal commerce.
Very much appreciated.
Everybody should be sovereign to have the power of controlling their commerce.
To date.
I like how they
Michael,
put this
what's your biggest take from this?
together with free speech. Because we've seen how they can like cut off your money sources, right? That is ridiculous.
I apologize if so, or maybe I'm just hallucinating, but this is actually my first.
Hallucinating.
Okay, good.
You're hallucinating.
Yeah, one thought that I had that I'm sort of curious to hear others react to is, as I was listening to Elon, I have sort of competing instincts, because on the one hand, yeah, I'm a journalist. I'm a journalist sort of a different vein than most, but still I have like journalistic instincts that are kind of my operating principle. And so from that standpoint, I do think it's healthy and even required to sort of maintain a bit of, maintain critical distance from him, or like be skeptical, rationally skeptical of him. After all, he is extraordinarily powerful, right? And I think, that's still warranted, but at the same time, as I'm listening to him, I can't really think of a well-founded reason to doubt his sincerity, or doubt that he's being sincere when, for example, he says that he was impelled to buy Twitter because of some sort of nebulous intuition he had about the betterment of humanity and the advancement of consciousness. I can see a cynical interpretation of that being, that's just kind of nonsense. He's just, it's all like raw profit motive. But that
to remain in power,
if that's what he was solely
you must be able to do anything to remain in power.
Conclusion here, I'm just sort of wondering if, like, how what do you think of that?
I want to add to it. I think it's a very good point you made. By the way, can anyone check when the next drop is? So we know this, so you can just interrupt us when you see a drop by Elon or Matt or whoever the person's tweeting it. But yeah, just to answer your point, Michael, I want to agree with you. Like I disagree with a lot of things. If anyone doesn't disagree with anything that Elon ever said, then there's something wrong with you. You can't agree with someone 100%, or you can. It's very rare. But I just cannot find any reason to, like, I try to challenge myself, like maybe Elon's doing these things for another reason, or maybe there's an agenda, blah, blah, blah. And then just the actions, all of them just don't point in that direction. So, like, whether you agree or disagree with Elon, I think there's, objectively speaking, his actions are heading in the right direction, to say the least. And again, that's coming from a very objective perspective, not as a fanboy. At least not from me.
Thank you, Christine, for the super sticker. I appreciate that.
Screenshot of
so kind. Thank you, and generous.
Moderation policy circa 2015, which was incredibly bare bones compared
You're
to
welcome,
what it is now,
Christine.
where it's gotten, absurdly bloated and it's infused with all this jargon and sort of like therapeutic moralism nonsense. And I thought to myself, hey, like, let's plug it into the Twitter URL into the Wayback Machine. Look at what the policy was in 2015. Just says, sort of get it out of the air. And sure enough, it seems like a much more rational policy than is the case today. Basically just all that's prohibited strictly is direct.
These are all
threats of violence, and they're also
very legitimate concerns, Phyllis. Just like someone earlier, Yeshua. I mean, I think Elon is the Antichrist because of the Neuralink.
And Elon actually, of his own accord.
And what do we really know about an Antichrist? Are there many Antichrists?
And I don't know. I just, when I see stuff like that, when I see him engaging for however long he did tonight, with a seemingly unfiltered sort of stream of people, all of whom are going to be necessarily friendly to him. I don't know. I can't help but think that there has to be some undercurrent of genuineness there that is worth not being totally cynical about. Even when Kanye got banned this week, which was not the most pleasant thing, I was a bit wary because I just couldn't tell what the principle was. I mean, what was it? Just an arbitrary sort of ad hoc discretionary thing because they don't have the full rules settled yet? I don't know. It's hard to say. So it seemed like maybe a deviation from what I would have thought would have been done under his tutelage. But even in light of that, I mean, you could see how maybe it's not the craziest thing to have had to have made sort of a, an ad hoc sort of intervention like that. And it's like almost, and so that's what I thought of when he was saying, look, like the overall trajectory, even if it's iterative, even if it's in fits and starts toward a particular end that ultimately seeks to, advance human consciousness. And I'm not, that's not like my lingo that I would necessarily most naturally use, but I kind of get the gist, and it seems sincere enough to me.
I want to see who's. Just some people are telling me the stage only has 3 speakers. I can see a lot more. Kim, Tara, are you with me? Ian, are you with me, guys?
Yeah, I'm here, but my app is completely glitched. So
yeah, me too. Tara, you're with me. Tara, you says you're co-host.
I don't see co-host. Oh yeah, I do now. Oh, it just updated.
Oh, perfect. Perfect. Ian, are you with us? Let's do a check on who's here. Ian is glitching out. Clayton, Evan is here. Perfect. Clayton, Will.
Okay.
And
I'm going to leave the space now. It looks like they are. Thank you for being patient through the glitching that I was having through StreamYard. It's still StreamYard. It doesn't matter if I pay for it or use the free option. I have problems with StreamYard. I would like to get another streaming platform, and let me let you know if there's anything that has happened, because the second part of the Twitter files is still yet to drop if you are paying attention to it. Excuse me. So what I want to say basically, okay, 2 minutes ago, Elon Musk said, just a note to thank advertisers for returning to Twitter. So all the threats of leaving Twitter, they were nothing but just hot air. Just like, was it NBC? No, CBS, which news outlet? They're all the same to me. Threatened to leave Twitter and came back in, what, a day or two or a week, if they could even stay away that long. What I'm realizing, and many of you may already know this, but Twitter is a very unique platform when it comes to free speech and the ability to, in real time, affect the information space, to move a needle, and to have the immediacy that is unheard of, like in terms of anything we've ever seen. When we had newspapers as king, it takes print and to distribute the actual tangible paper. Now, with the advent of the internet, or you can go on to, I'm not going to do that today, posts, which Paul Romano has me loving in terms of getting a full, just a overhaul of what they're talking about. And it's funny. It's sort of like the Babylon Bee. Have you found that the New York Post is like the Babylon Bee? And then it has the, celebrity ghoul page 6, where you can just get all your celebrity ghoul news, right? That's what I so agree with Paul, that, celebrities have become very ghoulish, as well as politicians, because they say politics is for the ugly people, right? It's for the, Hollywood is for the pretty people. Politics is for the ugly people. Now, I didn't make that up, okay? And I'm not going to say allegedly. I would say that politics is also not just for the ugly people, but for the people that no one liked. The creepy, ugly people, right? For the most part, I'm saying, we have had some, people that are outliers, that are outside of the norm. but that's what they say about politics. So it's just like looking at Hollywood, the same kind of neuroses and mental illnesses that you see, all of them, borderline personality, what else? Narcissism, you can just go down the list. So it doesn't look like there's any drops. If anybody is new to the drop situation, there is a man who, he is the one that is dropping the let me see. His name is, they mentioned his name earlier. 1 minute. I'm a little slow. It's Matt right now by his tribe, because he is considered an insider in terms of journalism. He's been described as a liberal journalist and definitely entrenched in the Democratic cult. So Matt Taibbi was the one that was heading up the Twitter file drops. So it says he's a left-wing journal. Freezing. Yes. Okay, well, I think that all of the technology is glitchy. So what I'm Okay, it's buffering. Okay. So I'm having a time as well. And it's been hours. So what I'll do is I'll stop this live stream and I'll set up a time that we can debrief as well as talk about the drops that will happen this evening. I don't know what will happen in terms of it. Thank you. Thank you for standing by. I'm just having too many glitches myself. Till. Oh gosh, stand by, stand by. I don't know, freezing glitches. Thanks for being patient with this whole thing. Sound is going out. Okay. So I leave some comments, please, in the comment section. And like and subscribe, please. I will see you soon. Continue conversation. I'll keep my ear to the ground and listen out. I'm developing some theories, and I want to, check with you all, comparing notes Okay, so if anything big happens, let me know. Yesterday was the Hunter Biden stuff. Some people felt underwhelmed by that because we knew about it. I don't know how much it's going to, but what it does, overall is it shows that now the information is welcome. If you can hear me, okay, it's going, it's spinning. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just sign off now, okay? So you don't have to go through all of this. But thank you so much. I'll absolutely post it. Okay? But it's just in and out too. All right. So I'll see you soon, okay? Good night. Love you all.